Welcome. It is September the 27th, 2022, and you are watching the Police Softball Podcast. And the reason that you are here is two parts. One is to get the preview to the World Series, right? We got World Series. It's the 17th one, and we're going to highlight the teams. We're going to get Jeff Blair, one of the founders of the PS.com circuit. He's going to give us a rundown on the brackets. And ultimately, he's going to have his special guest, the Swami, joining in to be able to give us predictions for the finalists in the different divisions. But you're here early because you want to listen in to the PSA announcement, if you will, when it comes to Jeff's near-death or life-threatening experience. Now, you may think, well, that's a little bit dramatic. No, it's not, because when you're in it, it's like near death. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. When something's happening to you that's foreign, you don't know where you're going to end up. You might as well be close to death because you're freaking out. You don't know if you're going to leave. And you're going to hear that Jeff expresses things like that. He's got some great information on something that can help save your life, I believe. Any of you that are out there on blood pressure medicine or anything like that, you're going to want to tune in. You're going to want to listen to this, and that's why you're here. So I'm excited to be able to have Jeff share his experience. I thank him in advance for being able to share this. After Jeff is done with that, we're going to cut to our start of the preview to the World Series 17 in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, so here we go.
So 2 weeks ago yesterday, it would have been the 12th. It was a Monday. I woke up with this ridiculous allergic reaction to a blood pressure drug I take called lisinopril. And my condition was called angioedema. And you'll see a picture of it here. But if you Google search angioedema with lisinopril, you'll see a bunch of people that look exactly like me. And apparently it's a very common reaction. So much so they've had lawsuits, class action lawsuits against lisinopril. I'm surprised this stuff is still on the market. It's an ACE inhibitor. So for anybody taking blood pressure medication, specifically lisinopril, take those pictures I just sent up, stick them to your doctor and say, I don't want this to happen to me. I have been taking this stuff for over 5 years. It took 5 years to get that reaction. This stuff is apparently it's not uncommon. It could be immediate or could be 7 years down the road, but these reactions are fairly common. On my Facebook page alone, I probably have 1,000 Facebook friends, and I've had 6 people say, hey, that happened to me too. So This is not like a 1 in a million thing. It's very common.
Wow.
Yeah. So
those pictures are insane, man.
And the scary thing is the allergist, who's a doctor, says, hey, don't be surprised if you don't get another flare up in 2 or 3 months from now, even though I stopped taking it. The stuff alters your DNA and stuff. Very powerful drug.
What was happening that they wanted to give that to you? You know what I mean?
So I had high blood pressure, right? So this is a common drug. I guarantee somebody watching this, there's 5 people who are on it. It's just the go-to drug they give you for high blood pressure. So I've been on it for many years. I woke up and I had that reaction. And I went to the emergency room in Mission Viejo, and within 10 minutes, that was the least of my worries, because what happened was, to treat the allergic reaction, they gave me a shot of epinephrine in my arm, and they gave me a cocktail of antihistamines, including Benadryl and a steroid and Pepsid and stuff. But what happened was with an IV, they have a crimp on the IV, and it's supposed to slowly drip into your system. And a half an hour after I got my epinephrine shot, the night shift nurse had left and a day shift nurse came on, and my wife had said, hey, that IV is not working. It's not dripping. So the day shift nurse says, oh, let's open up the crimp. And they opened it up. It's like a clamp that goes on there. And I literally felt like the IV start to work. And it flushed into my system. And I felt coldness go up the vein of my arms. And I felt it hit across my shoulders. And then all of a sudden it was like a light switch. And if you've ever been tasered, I'm sure you guys have been with a taser, felt ride for 5, whatever. It tasered my heart. Whatever was in that cocktail hit my heart like a taser. And I went to AFib. I could feel my heart. It felt like an Eddie Van Halen or Alex Van Halen, the drummer, like a drum solo. But my heart started beating every which way. And I looked at the nurse and I said, what did you put in there? I'm having a heart attack. And she's, first got defensive. And then she looked at the EKG and ran out of the room.
Wow.
And so just me and my wife in the hospital room. So my wife starts hitting the help button, and people start pouring in there. And I remember having this heart attack, and it was like anybody who's ever worried about like, hey, I might be having a heart attack. It was nothing like that. It was like, I'm having a heart attack, like flip of a switch, like a taser. Like I felt like my whole world was constricting and closing in around me. This happened to Dell when Dell had his heart attack. He felt like he wanted to take his clothes off. I had the same feeling, but I'm gasping for air. My heart is pounding, chest full of pain. I wanted to vomit and I wanted to poop at the same time. I couldn't explain losing. And then, so the doctor walks in and he says, I understand you're having a reaction. I said, no, I'm having a heart attack. And he says, no, that's uncommon, in 27 years. And he starts looking at the EKG. He's like, well, you are having some kind of reaction. I've never seen anything like this. And I said, Doc, I'm having a heart attack. Look at my hands. And they were gray. So later I learned when you have a heart attack, all the blood, it constricts, right? And all the blood goes to your heart, your lungs, and your brain to keep you alive. It didn't care about your limbs and stuff like that. So, and fast forward, like they don't do anything. They just stand there looking at me, watching the EKG, discussing how abnormal it is. And I'm having a heart attack. And I mean, I don't want to get choked up, but I said goodbye to my wife. I said, I hope I'm good with God. I said goodbye, tell the kids I love them, the whole bit in front of it. And then all of a sudden, after like 2 minutes, I literally felt my heart fight it off and kick back in. And I felt like, boom, boom, normal again, right? I was an AFib and I felt it like go normal. I look at my wife and I go, I'm okay. My heart's fine now. And like 30 seconds later, the doctor goes, well, I'm looking at the EKG and things seem to be normal again. I'm like, just, I don't even want to talk to you anymore, because you did nothing for me.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed with the doctor because I felt like he was like a sports commentator. Like, well, there's the heart's back to normal now. They didn't do anything. My body fought it off.
Yeah.
Long story short, argument with he says, well, it's a good thing you came here because you happen to have a heart attack just as you were being treated for all this stuff. And I says, no, you guys caused the heart attack.
Yeah. And
he says, coincidentally, I just had and I got, you guys know my heart health stuff. Like I'm on top of this stuff. I take all the heart supplements. I work out. I eat well. Coincidentally, I've had 2 coronary calcium scans done on my chest. I've had 2 stress EKGs done in the last 5 years, including one 3 months ago, and everything's good. And I told him, I just had a stress EKG done 3 months ago. I go, I don't have anything going on. I don't have any. So he says, hey, the only way to make sure that there's like no damage is to do an angiogram. And the only way to prove that you had a heart attack, because I'm not sure you did, is to do a test that measures troponin. It's something that's released into your system after you have a heart attack, and it should be 0. So they take blood, they go away, and I tell my wife, I had a heart attack. I go, I'm going to have a number. I don't know what the number is going to be, but I'm going to have a number. And I see him over there looking at the blood results a half an hour later, and then all of a sudden I see another doctor come down, and they're both looking at it, and I go, okay, here they come. They come walking over, and he says to me, hey, when you watch you were a cop, right? And I said, yeah. When you watch the news and there's a cop doing something like really bad on the news and like there's a backstory. Like they're only showing you a segment of what they want to see, the bad stuff. The guy was probably trying to do the right thing and there's a backstory. There's more to it. That's kind of like this situation. And I just look at him and I go, I had a heart attack, didn't I? He says, hey, your troponin's like 250 and eventually climbed to 1800. So I had a significant heart attack. And he goes, so I'm going to admit you now as a cardiac patient. So now I go in there with that reaction that you saw, which ended up being nothing. 24 hours later, that was gone. Yeah. And now I'm a cardiac patient. And I just want to, so I guess my point, Trini, to you, and you've been through this, the takeaway is for 24 hours is the most depressing, sad time of my life because I thought for 53 years, I ate broccoli, worked out, ate tuna, never smoked pot, never smoked a cigarette. I haven't even taken a puff of a cigar in my life. And these guys effed it up in 2 minutes by, being careless with their administration as medicine. Yep. And I was mad and I was sad and I was depressed and I was wondering what my new life was going to look like. I can't, my passion's working out. I'm not going to be able to go to the World Series. All this kind of stuff is rushing through my head. When am I going to have my next heart attack like Dell, right? Dell had 2 heart attacks and the second one did him in. All this stuff went through my mind. Because they couldn't get me in for that angiogram. But they finally got me in for the angiogram 24 hours later, maybe 30 hours later. And they said no damage, no blockages, very little plaque, none. Wow. So not enough to be significant to the point where he's like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it worked. It probably saved your life.
Yeah.
So
no doubt.
I went from being angry and scared. And I tell you what, guys, I'm not a macho. All these guys, I'm not afraid of death. You're not afraid of death until you face death. Then you're fucking terrified. Let me tell you right now, it's scary when it's Trini knows. It's terrifying when it's sudden and immediate and it's happening now. It's like I've got a minute to live or something. Like, just terrifying.
And that's man. I'll go ahead.
I'm sorry, Trini. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man. We all try, and I know I did. I was raised that way, to appreciate life, don't take it for granted, and it was drilled in me. I drill it into my kids, my family. But like you said, it's no matter how much you think like that, you talk like that, you try to live like that. Yeah. A lot of times when you go through something like this, it's when it's like just so it intensifies it so much to where you're a different person and people can sense it when you talk about it. That's why I believe I can connect with my story with people, because they feel it more than just hear it. I lived it and I was there, and I'm letting you know the sun is setting right now, and I absolutely do not take the sun, the green of the grass, the blue of the sky. Don't take that for granted. People are like, oh, dude, that's corny. I don't care if they think it's corny. I appreciate the hell out of it, and I never take it for granted. And that's why I emphasize what I do so much. And man, I can feel that passion in you right now. And
I felt it. And Trini, you touched me one time. I don't know. You probably don't remember, but while you're going through cancer, I mean, you were still in the middle of it all. You talked about going against doctor's orders, and you grabbed a mountain bike and went on a bike ride. Yeah. And you told me the story like I just rode. And for an hour I rode. I didn't have cancer. I was just me riding a bike. I don't know if you remember that story or not, but that touched me. Yeah. And it was you talking about you went out and rode this mountain bike.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember that. It was in Dallas. I do remember that.
You told me about that, and I still remember that. And I remember looking at my wife and like, guys, I don't sit on here and pound the Bible or anything like that. I just remember saying, I hope I'm good with God. You know what I mean? Whatever religion you are, I'm a Christian, but like I can't cite but 2 or 3 verses from the Bible. I'm like, man, am I good enough to get in? These are things that go through your mind. Yeah. Like, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and he died for my sins and all this, but I'm kind of a loser. You know what I mean? I didn't, I can't cite me Bible verses or anything like that. So all this kind of stuff like weighs on you really fast, like in a split second. However, that said, is after it was done, and it went from like anger and sadness to like pure joy, because not only like, it was just like, it was like there was no damage, but not only that, like you don't have any plaque or anything, like you're good. And he said, continue your life. Like, I'm like, all right. So literally I had that done at like 4. I was out of there at 6 p.m. The next day I went to the gym and did the treadmill, and I had like a couple beers and stuff. Like, so my life is normal again. So whatever the case is, when I went to the gym, I got that treadmill, I had a smile on my face the whole time. It's just, it's the gift of life, and every day is a gift. And to this day, like I walk around smiling all the time for no reason. I'm just happy to be here. Like I'm looking at the brackets and the World Series. I'm just so excited that like I get to do it. So,
man.
Anyway, so that's my
absolutely
story. So
absolutely feel it. Man, when
you
say that,
if you're on lisinopril, check it out. The 3 takeaways. Number 1, stay on top of your heart health. And like, I think that my lifestyle, they told me that is probably why I lived through this, because I probably would have died based on the drug overdose if I wasn't. So they did this thing called a echocardiogram. They said your heart like beats like much stronger than most people. They have some kind of I forget they call it ejection fraction rating. Mine's 72. It's supposed to be 60 to 70. So long story short is stay on top of your health. That's number 1. Number 2 is if you're on lisinopril or an ACE inhibitor, talk to your doctor about it. And that's not necessarily life threatening unless it gets into your throat and then you choke out. And then number 3 is like, and Trini, you know this, is like you just never take tomorrow for granted. And I've been saying that about softball, about everything. You just never know like when tomorrow's going to come. So every day matters. Don't waste a single day.
Awesome. I will add, if you don't mind, a couple of things. One is you have to be in charge of your own health when you're in the hospital. They try their best. Sometimes you don't feel like that. I'd like to think they try their best, but in the end, it does not matter. They make mistakes. They're human. They're tired. They work double shifts. Somebody's coming in at the last second to fill for someone else. Some people don't even enjoy their job. You have to be on top of them. When my son was in the hospital, they were waking him up, poking him throughout the night. My wife finally called him out on it. And sure enough, as much as the nurse said, nope, that's the way it's supposed to be, doctor's orders, they were supposed to stop it 2 days before that. My son was getting waking up every night, and we were there with him. And it really made us upset that he had to go through that, be woken up with a prick, and crying like he was. It happened to me too, so many times. So you got to be in charge of your own health. And if you can, take somebody with you. Take somebody there, because while you're going through it and you're going through the emotions as a person involved, you need somebody from the outside looking in who can think for you, who can hear things along with you, because sometimes you don't, when you're told something, you're just like you, Jeff, you're stressed, you're thinking about Dale. There's already all kinds of things going through your mind. It's almost like they fade out. Their voices are low. You're thinking about, you're scared, and you miss things. Yeah. And you have somebody.
I wasn't making good business decisions there, like that kind of stuff. But my wife, I can't say enough good things about Anne-Marie. Yep. She was through this whole thing. She was so strong. She might have been scared on the inside, but you would have never known the way she would comfort me. As I said, I'm having a heart attack. She goes, "Hey, I just need you to sit down." And she was my rock. So I appreciate Trini bringing that up, because, without her, I don't know. And just in the bedroom, the hospital bed, I would sit there and I'd just break down and start crying, and she would comfort me and just say, "Hey, it's going to work out. Whatever the future holds, I'm going to be here, and we're going to get through it," and this and that. And lo and behold, the future holds it's awesome. Work out, and nothing's changed. But even if it would have been bad, and I had to alter my lifestyle, she would have been there next to me. So
I'm happy, man. I'm happy, and I'm happy that you are where you are, and I'm even happier that you have that new.
Oh yeah,
deep appreciation. I understand.
I've always appreciated life, but man, it's it's out of control. Appreciation now.
I know it intensifies.
I just walk around smiling. They must think that I'm on high or something like that.
That's cool, man. Well, I'm very happy, and I'm happy to be able to do this show, man. Partner in crime, Joe, joining me again. We got another special guest. Don't forget, man, I got your 6. Hey, how's that, man? We even have the Swami in the intro. That's cool, man. Hey, thank you guys for joining us. We are here with our special episode that probably gets the most views throughout the whole year, and that is the preview to the World Series. And Joe had to help me because I'm not good with the Roman numerals. So Joe helped me out and told me it's World Series 17. So I'm excited about it, man. I'm Trinidad. We'll throw a banner up here in just a second. There's my partner in crime there, Mr. Joe Monahan. We'll throw his banner up. And then we have Jeff Blair joining us today. So thank you guys for being here, man. I appreciate it again.
Great to be here.
Yeah, man. I've got October the 6th through the 9th, 2022 in Las Vegas, Nevada for the World Series. Man, I'll tell you what, this is really, it's going to be Jeff and Joe's show, because Joe's my stats guy. He's my guy who knows what's going on, throughout the league. And then, of course, Jeff with Dale, who created this whole circuit for us that we talk about all year long. That's the man with the plan, especially when it comes to this tournament. So again, man, it's going to be y'all's show. Jeff, we've got October the 6th through the 8th is going to be majors and mid-majors. That's Thursday through Saturday. Then we have October the 7th through the 9th, which is the gold and silver division, which is Friday through Saturday. And for those that don't know, this takes place at the BLD, the Big League Dreams in Las Vegas, Nevada. And man, I'll tell you what, we got a bunch of teams signed up for this year. So Jeff, I'm excited. How many teams do we have this year that are going to be showing up in Vegas for the World Series?
67 teams this year.
God, so, man, to put that in perspective, we had 21 teams at our tournament that just took place. Joe, you had maybe 15, something like that. 15 teams at your tournament. I mean, to have that many teams in one place is just, man, it's super special. But I think huge. What makes this extremely special is not just the amount of teams, not just the beautiful location being Las Vegas and the fields, but it's also that opening ceremonies and everything else that goes into it to emphasize what we're there for. And ultimately, it's that camaraderie. So, Jeff, kudos again. Excited to be able to highlight the tournament. Let's roll with it. Jeff, what are we going to do, man?
I'm going to talk about the brackets. So I really like this. It's called the majors division. It's really majors and mid-majors. That's all the upper division teams. This year, we have eight groupings, and only 8 teams are guaranteed to go to majors. And those are what we've decided are the 8 teams in the nation that deserve it based on the history of the team, their World Series record in recent years, all kinds of how they did this year, whatnot. And then there's 8 at-large berths. So as a result of that, the round robin really matters because each bracket will play 3 round robin games. The predetermined team, it doesn't matter how they do, they're in the playoffs. They might be the lowest seed. They might go on 3 and be ranked 16th or seeded 16th, but they're in. And they're the ones that earned them, and I'll talk about each one of them. And then there's going to be 8 more teams that earn their way in. So instead of the old days of like, hey, we are a majors team, we want to be in majors, like now you got to earn it. So you either earn it over the course of the season or you earn it in the round robin. And that's why I give you 3 full games in the round robin because, if you go 0-3 in the round robin and you're not predetermined to go there, you don't deserve to be in the majors. I want people to see this as prestigious. Like my team is one of the 16 best teams in the nation that gets to compete against the other 15 best teams in the nation. And I know Joe in particular, he took when I mentioned that his team might drop down to gold, he had a problem with that, right? So more people should be like Joe. And I'm not saying like there's plenty of gold teams that don't aspire to be majors and they want to play with their buddies. That's fine. We got a home for you. But if you're a guy like Joe and you're used to playing and you want to play against the best competition, yeah. You should take it as an insult that you're not considered one of the top teams. So with that, I'd like to go over the brackets. All right, Trini, is that okay?
Cool. Yep.
We'll
go over the brackets. Yeah.
I don't say brackets. Brackets makes it sound like the playoffs. So this is the round. I call them groupings. Group A. Yeah, Group A. Top team in that group is the predetermined team, Great Lakes, right? So I don't have to talk about those guys. You know what they're all about. I understand they did not have Biscuit and Waxahachie.
They did not.
He's a difference maker. Joe, can you confirm no Biscuit?
No Biscuit.
Okay, well.
And I can confirm he is a difference maker. Right,
difference maker. So whatever you saw in Texas is going to be them in Vegas and then some, better. And then, and right down the list there, Nassau, I saw their roster. If they've got Butch Crozier pitching, he's on the roster. That's a difference maker too. The other 2 teams that'll be the dark horses will be Houston and Sacramento Razorbacks. The Houston team, Trini, I don't know what you think about this, but some people seem to think they're the best team in Texas right now.
I'll tell you what, it's hard to argue. I mean, we all know that any team can show up in a certain way at different tournaments, but man, pretty consistent team there, and they've been building on it. So I don't have an argument with that.
Okay, and then Sacs, obviously from NorCal, they're the young up and coming team, bunch of baseball players. They got their work cut out for them because they probably never seen anybody like Biscuit before pitching. But once again, I don't care how good of a pitcher you are; it's underhand. They should be able to hit the ball. They're going to be fine. Yeah. So that's Group A. So your odds-on favorite is Great Lakes. The next team that goes to majors, kind of a coin. It might not be anybody. So to make things clear, it's the 8 best teams. It could be nobody else from Group A, or it could be all 4 teams. Well, probably won't because one of them's going to have to lose some games. But mathematically, you could have 3 teams or you could have 1 team from that group. So
copy that.
I'm ready to move on to Group B.
Yeah, man.
Okay. So this is an interesting one because Stanislaus is not one of the 8 best teams in the nation. And they'll tell you they're not. Well, they could be, but not with this lineup. So they're missing their main player is the coach. He can't make it because he's at a mandatory canine conference. Hats off to these guys for still putting a team together. And the bottom line is they still got to play majors because they won mid-majors 2 years in a row. And we just can't let a team continue to win a lower division without bumping them up. So they got a mandatory bump, but unfortunately for them, they got a mandatory bump with a kind of a makeshift lineup. I've seen the lineup, though. It's pretty good. Some of the guys they picked up are Hall of Famers and stuff like that. So they're going to be very competitive.
You got any names that they picked up?
Off the top of my head, I think they got JoJo Johnson, who's one of the top guys from NorCal. I'm not sure he's in the Hall of Fame, but he used to be on the DEA, and I thought they might have picked up somebody else. I know the Enforcers got some Hall of Famers, but Stanislaus has some good pickups on the team, and I don't have them off the top of my head. The team that really is the most interesting to me in this bracket, and these guys should be playing with a chip on the shoulder, is the DEA combo. So this team in the history of police softball has never had to earn their way into majors. They've always been a majors team. Matter of fact, they're a world champion, majors world champion. But the bottom line is these guys have not been playing well these past couple years. They're pretty good for around here. You know what I mean? They're one of the best California teams, but when you put them on a national level, they haven't been stacking up. Like in the West Conference, they've been dropping down to mid-majors. And a lot of it's due to injuries. They have a lot of injured players, and they still do. The guys they probably have more Hall of Famers on their team than anybody else, which is great. But the bottom line is if you're in the Hall of Fame, you're at least 45. So a lot of these guys are getting close to 50 or 50 plus. I do think I was watching Waxahachie really hard, and they played very well with their lineup. They looked really good. Yeah, so I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to go to majors, and I think they'll be in the mix. Probably not going to win it, but they're going to be very competitive. And if these guys get in the top 5 or so, it would not be a surprise to me now based on what I saw in Waxahachie. Illini Express, that's the Louisville team. That's Witt and those guys. Love those guys. If they go to majors, they're a major caliber team. They'll either be, if they go to mid majors, that's going to be a good thing for them as far as, how deep they get in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting because, there's no guarantee that Stanislaus is going to go 3-0. I wouldn't necessarily count on that. That means that somebody in there is going to get bumped up likely. Suffolk's another one. They're a lot like I see Suffolk more like along the lines of Razorbacks. They got their work cut out for them, probably best suited for mids. But in this particular group, I think this one's wide open. Of all the groupings, this is the biggest coin toss division. Probably, the Swami could talk about it, but Jeff Blair would say DEA combo's probably got the edge here.
So you've got you got the Swami lined up for the show?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got a call.
Right.
Yeah. He's in the washroom right now, getting ready. So.
All right. Very cool. For those that don't know this, we're talking about the Swami. We're talking about somebody who, we don't know where he gets his information. We don't know how he gets it. I don't know if he's like that carnival little guy that's at what was that show, Big, where you got he does whatever. But this dude is freaking accurate, man. I'm really excited to hear from him. What are we going to get from the Swami, Jeff?
So Swami's only going to give you the top 4 teams as in each division: gold, mid majors, and majors. But it's not just like, oh man, random. This guy, he picked the majors first and second team in order. He picked the winner of gold. If you went down the list last year, I think if you take the top 3, I think he got 3 times 3 is 9. I think he got 7 out of 9 in each division correctly. So he's pretty good.
He's like Conor McGregor, man. He can tell you what round he's going to do it in. Right, so I'm excited to hear from him. I'm sorry, but I had to throw that in there. Joe, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, if DEA comes out like they did in Texas, they're going to be there at the end. Those guys, they put up, I think they probably average 32 runs a game.
They can hit.
Guys are good.
They can hit. Yeah. I do worry about they're not young. And if you lose a game early in the round robin in Vegas, or not the round robin, in the playoffs in Vegas, these guys are in great shape. Danny Wells and all these guys, but running the outfield and these guys hitting lasers all over the place, it's going to take its toll on you. So then what happens is, in my experience, is the more tired you get running the outfield, all of a sudden that bat feels heavier when you come hit. So you see the scores start dipping. So it's critical for those guys to stay in the winner's bracket. But early on, man, I would want to see those guys on Thursday for sure. I don't want to see them.
And they took third in the majors at Waxahachie, so that was good, man. And they're going to be highlighted in the video and the recap. But yeah, that's awesome. All right, so who else are we?
Group C, Minnesota is everyone's favorite. Everyone give Minnesota a big hug, right?
Yep.
They might be one of the few teams, them in the DEA, that have never missed the World Series. So and they're always one of the top teams. So. They deserve everything. They've done a great job of keeping that team on top. So as the older guys age out, they kind of stick around a little bit, but they find new guys. They're the team to beat. Thin Blue Line. Last year they had last year was the first year they didn't have to win their way in. They've always won their way in. They seem to do good in the round robin. I almost feel like they're even better this year, but they still got to win their way in because they haven't, consistently across the tournaments, they haven't won anything huge, I don't think, this year. Joe maybe can help me out, but they're in the mix, but they just haven't. It just seems like they're taking a backseat to the Hounds and Great Lakes and the Mid-Atlantic of the world. Yeah. See, Max Elite, that's another big one. So they're a step below those guys as far as performance this year. But I could see them getting into majors. San Antonio Law, Trini's team, probably better off being in mid-majors. I'd like to see these guys. These guys won the gold one year. I'd like to see what they did and see. I think you guys would be very competitive in majors. We'll see what happens, but you're gonna have to get through Minnesota, some really good teams, thin blue line, and then the sleeper team here is the 1-7-2 combo. Those guys, that's a really good. Used to be called Team Vargas out of California, but now they're even better from SoCal. They're really scrappy. So they're my sleeper team in that bracket. I could see them sneaking a win against one of those bigger teams there. And then in Group D, obviously the team to beat without a question is Max Elite. These guys are firing on all cylinders. I watched them in New York. They're just good all the way around. Good pitching, good defense. So that was their big. I used to knock them for their defense and being not as athletic, but being great hitters. Now they're a complete package. I like the pitching. I like the defense. I always like the hitting. Angel Armor, these guys, I always underestimated these guys. They won the gold one year, and I thought it was kind of a fluke, and I put them in mids, and they did really well in mids, and then they came to West Conference and finished second. I mean, they gave LAPD Blue a scare in the championship. I don't think they went to Waxahachie or no? They went somewhere, and they didn't do quite as well.
They were in St. Louis. And they were actually in St. Louis, and they were in Waxahachie, I believe, weren't they? And in St. Louis, they finished third.
Oh, okay,
behind,
all right.
Behind,
I didn't know they did that well. Okay, so they're on fire. These guys are like, and I'm watching them like play like they're a major. I mean, they're like, there's no doubt they're a majors team. They didn't earn one of the top 8, but they would have had not for Stanislaus, they would be in Group B as the number 1 team based on their performance this year and then last year. They're the team that got bumped out due to Stanislaus, but they probably earned it more than Stanislaus. I'd like to see them win their way into majors. If they end up in mid-majors, that's a big problem for everybody else. And then I-80 card. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think Angel Armor is going to come down to their offense. If they can get their bats going, their defense is top notch. Their gloves are great, and I think they get their bats going, they could make their way up into the majors. I'm
always impressed with those guys, man. And it's always just like just right there, man. Just right there from freaking, just blowing some teams out,
No, they're good. I saw them first. I saw so many games, and you guys are a student of the game. I go, these guys are the total package. And I got some friends back east, and they were I was telling them about my assessment of teams, and I said, these guys are the up-and-coming team. And they kind of poo-pooed it away. I go, wait till you see these guys execute. So,
and they were a half inning from being in the championship game in St. Louis.
Yeah, they were finished third. Yeah, they
were up on Great Lakes by 9 in the bottom of the 7th.
And Biscuit was there in that one, right?
He was there. Yes.
Yeah. So okay, to finish out that grouping, the I-80 Cartel, they remind me a lot of Angel Armor too. I think they're a little underrated just because you don't hear about them much. If they were like in New York or something, I think a lot of people have been talking about them. BP Arsenal, they're a former mid-majors champion team. They struggled earlier this year to get people out just because, and they're the most consistent team around, but this border crisis really caused problems for them this year. So I'm hoping they got their full lineup. If they do, they're still a bit older, unless they got some young guys in there. Probably better off in mid-majors for those guys. Group E, LAPD Blue. This podcast can go on forever. They're good. You know that.
All right. I asked Dave Braun of LAPD question earlier. I asked him, as the reigning champs and the clear favorites for this year's World Series, I asked Dave to name one team other than his own that he thinks has a shot at this year's title and why. This is what he had to say.
What's up, Trini and Joe? Hope all's well with everybody. Great job with the podcast. You guys are doing a great thing for the circuit. Can't thank you guys enough. I was asked who's going to win the 2022 World Series and why. I think there's a lot of parity at the top. It's a very, very difficult tournament to win. It's a tough group to get into. to be a champion. I think that out east you have a lot of great teams. With the Minnesota Lawmen are always there. Michigan Lawmen's always there. If they got Biscuit on the squad, always have a chance. And a lot of new up-and-comers. Lockdown Lawmen's won it before. Great squad. Hounds, always a great team. And then Max Lead, I think, out east has added Dave Massey's going to be a big addition. Out west, you got the emergence of two very good young teams in Utah and State 48, done very well this year. Obviously, you got DA combos in it all every year. And St. Kyle Connection, man, they've gained a lot of experience over the last couple of years. They can beat you with power, average. They're great up the middle defensively without being them, those twins. They play every facet of the game tremendously. They're going to be tough to beat this year, and I think it's their tournament to lose. Good luck to everybody. See you in a couple weeks.
Maryland Outlaws, the team that I saw in New York, they surprised me. Their infield is probably one of the better infield defenses that I've seen in the sport. Interesting bracket though, because they're going against South Florida, who's had a great World Series last year. They're coming stacked again this year.
All right, so I asked Brandon West of South Florida a question earlier. I asked him how he's going to get his team prepared to jump to majors after his great run in gold last year. How does he get his guys ready to go? And this is what he had to say.
Deanna, Joe, Trini, thanks for having me on the podcast. The question was asked, what have we done to prepare after winning gold last year to move up to majors, mid-majors? Really, last year at majors in Vegas in gold was the first time I had this whole new team together. And so really all we've done to prepare more is we've played our normal tournaments this year as a group, finally getting most of our new guys together, learned each other, some camaraderie, and we added 3 more local tournaments just to have a chance to play more together. So really nothing special, just playing together and trying to learn each other a little more in the best positions to play, make some moves. And then how do I feel about Vegas? I feel good. We're missing 3 good players, but I think we'll compete. I'm excited.
And then my sleeper team, Riverside Force, that's George Reyes' team. Those guys, they can hit if you play those guys to pull and just assume they're just like a normal beer league team, you're going to lose because they hit like George. They're situational. When it's time to hit backside, they hit backside. I do worry about their defense a little bit, but they're going to score a lot of runs. I saw them put 34 runs or 36 runs up in the first inning against the 1-7-2 combo, and 1-7-2 combo is a good team. So they had a really good team. You just couldn't defend it. I was watching it. They were hitting lasers everywhere. The problem is they ended scoring to being 48 to 40 because they didn't play any defense. So they're going to have a problem on the defensive end. Group F is the Hounds. I like LAPD Blue. I could talk forever about the Hounds. They're great, the whole bit. It sounds like Thies is going to be the pitcher for them, which is great. That guy's a very, very good pitcher. I saw him in New York, better than I thought he was. The problem is he's also a really good middle infielder, so that means that, something's got to give. You can't play 2 positions, so something's going to get watered down a little bit, and that's all it takes, that little bit to separate you from the next team. I think they're still going to get really deep. State 48, they were real
quickly, Jeff, shout out to Tyler Thies. Came down and was our wild card player. So it was cool. It came from a long way to come out and play with us, and it was a really neat treat to have him come down into play. So big shout out to Tyler. We'll keep going.
Yeah. State 48, they were what Angel Armor is. They were the up and coming new team waiting to break through. Last year they had a great year. They're probably going to finish second in that, and they're probably going to go to majors, and I wouldn't want to see them in majors. These guys, they hit the snot out of the ball. They got some conference players from Arizona in there. They're truly an Arizona all-star team. They're kind of a sleeper team to get into the mix there in the World Series finals. North Florida, last year they were red hot. I worry a little bit maybe that maybe they peaked. So we'll see what happens. I think they're destined for mid-majors. They did not look sharp in New York. They got all the talent. They got all the names. If they got Donnie pitching, it's it'd be nice to have some depth there. Northern Lawmen, they're from Canada. That's Luke's team from Toronto. These guys finished runner-up in gold 1 year, mid-majors 2 years in a row. But these guys have been dormant since COVID, so I'm not sure how if they're going to be rusty or not. Group G, Mid-Atlantic, Terry's team, they're going to win it. Sorry, Joe.
I got something to say about that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see as the show progresses. Maybe the Swami will prove me wrong. Missouri, Joe's team, obviously, it's probably the best Missouri team that I think I've seen from you. And then I get all the reports about how good you guys are.
Rolling.
You guys did it. Congratulations. You built yourself back up, Joe. You're back.
Yeah, man.
We got. I just want to give these guys a little shout out. But to me, I agree with you, Jeff. I think this team that we put together this year just has a lot of the right pieces as far as youth goes. I've never had guys younger than my oldest daughter playing with me for me, and I do now. And that, it helps having that youth and that speed.
Yeah.
That really does help.
Young guys run hard. They got energy. There's just a lot,
they show up.
Yeah. It's the most important thing is like having a balance, right? Because you've had a bunch of young guys, they, mental mistakes and stuff. So if you got a balance, that's the best team you can put together is a balanced team with a few veterans. And so the Enforcers, that's an interesting team. They finished second in mid-majors, second or third, maybe third in mid-majors last year. Whatever the case is, these guys were struggling to put a team together this year. But they added a bunch of guys like Jim Sanders, who was a Hall of Famer from hardcore. I think they added Mike Mayer, who was a Hall of Famer. He played for the Quakes. So these guys, and when I say Hall of Famers, like, these guys are really old or whatever, but these guys play senior ball still. So they play 50 and over. So it's not like they're not getting their hacks, and they're going to be able to hit. So they're kind of a sleeper there. Team Texas, everyone wanted to put those guys, they thought they were done. They're over. I just got their roster today. It's got all their guys on it from last year, plus a couple new ones, Trini. So look out. These guys finished second in mid-majors.
I think it was second last year.
They were second in mid-majors, right? And I think Enforcers were third, maybe. Is that how it went? Yeah. So it's a tough bracket. It's a tough group. So Mid-Atlantic and Missouri are the two top teams. And then I wouldn't take the next two teams for granted whatsoever. Group H, the Connection. Interesting year for these guys. These guys last year traveled the nation. We saw them everywhere. They'd never missed the West Conference tournament or the DEA kickoff. They didn't make either one of those this year. They might have traveled once. I still there's nothing I don't like about this team. Other than I didn't see them as much this year. Kentucky, obviously they hit the snot out of the ball. To begin with, Group H is the toughest bracket. If you wonder who the toughest group is, it's Group H. I wouldn't want to be in Group H. Connection's a majors team, not mid-majors. Kentucky Blue did very well in majors last year, and their majors caliber team, again, this year maybe even better. Miami Metro played majors last year. They're the third best team in here. And then the fourth best team in here, California Classic Sports. Those guys are better than you think. Good sleeper team. I saw them in I just see them all the time because they're from SoCal. Very athletic. There's nothing weak. They don't have any weaknesses. They're just not winning as much, the big tournaments and stuff. But if you put them in, say, the Group B and with Stanislaus, DEA, and Illinois Express, and you told me that they won it, I would not be surprised. That's how good that team is. So Group H, toughest group. So it's unlikely the number one seed's going to come out of there because I could see some teams beating it. I could see a bunch of 2-1 games, or even if Connection goes 3-0, I doubt they're going to rule everybody like they typically do. So with that said, that's Thursday. And then this is very important. Every majors and mid-majors teams plays a playoff game on Thursday evening. So I don't want to see here hey, so-and-so.
Repeat it.
Every mid-majors and everybody who plays on Thursday, the 3-round robin games, will play only one game on Thursday night or Thursday evening.
Okay.
So this happens all the time. Hey, so-and-so's team is not here and the game's 5 minutes out. Oh, we thought after the round robin, we didn't have to come back until Friday. That is not the case this year. All right. So everyone plays one game. You're getting 4 games on Thursday. Thursday is a very important day for me.
I like that. that. Good.
I'm going to ramp up the speed of this because my daughter's got a fundraiser for her school. So I'm moving to gold. So Friday, Group I's got Center Mass. They're the number 1 ranked gold team in the nation right now. They did really well last year. I think a 3rd or 4th in gold. They're even better this year. They did something somewhere. Missouri. Was it Joe?
No, it was in Texas.
Yeah, they're beating teams they're not supposed to beat. And I texted the coach.
Winners bracket.
Yeah, I texted him. I said, if you guys go win any more games, you're going to screw everything up because it's going to piss everybody off that you're in gold. And luckily they lost. So I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but whatever the case is, they're just super good. Vegas G-Men local team, Fugitives surprised me. They've been doing pretty well this year. J-Cats, that's a bunch of veterans out of NorCal.
A shout out to Texas Fugitives because those guys are only been around for a little bit and they're making some noise. So
I thought they were just fodder before, like just another Texas team. Now they're like winning stuff.
No,
Joe's paying their entry fee. They did so well in his tournament. So
they did a really good job. So shout out to them.
Yeah, they might end up. I don't know if they're going to beat Center Mass, but I could see them being the 2 seed out of there.
I asked Renee of the Texas Fugitives, which team in Texas has the best chance to win a championship at this year's World Series. I also asked him to rank the 7 teams in Texas, and this is what he had to say.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Renee. I'm the head coach of the Texas Fugitives. Give a shout out to my boy Jesse Pena. He's the assistant coach. It's me and him. We've started from the bottom. Now we're here. We're just having a good time with the police circuit softball. We love it. We're having a lot of fun with our buddies. Hold on, it's a little warm over here. Let me take off my hat. And but we're looking forward to Vegas. Vegas has seven Texas teams. We're looking forward to any Texas team to make it. We're a humble team. We like to play game. We take it game by game. We've traveled already. We've been together. We're gonna do our best in Vegas. We just hope a Texas team wins. That's it. That's all we hope for. We love you guys.
I love these guys. They crush it every year in the West Conference, and then for whatever reason they play poorly in the World Series. I don't want to say poorly, but they don't end up at silver. But kind of middle of the road, they're better than that. So they got to somehow get their heads out of their butt and play better. Guard Dogs, local SoCal team. Louisiana's back with hopefully they got their swagger back. Those guys are former gold champions. Riot has been around forever. Bunch of veterans. They can hit. They always worry about their defense. Moving on to Group K, the fastest rising team in the gold is this West Coast Lawman. There was even talk about moving them to the majors, mid-majors this year. They're going to be a load for anybody. They're super good. Lock and Load out of Texas. Another Texas team seem to be competitive. I haven't seen them winning a whole lot of tournaments. I think they're going to be finding this grouping because the next team, San Bernardino Hitscraw, is a local team. And then the Norsemen, man, I always have high hopes for these guys out of Minnesota, and it just seems like every time they get a really good player, he ends up going elsewhere in Minnesota. And so anyway, I like them. They should get deep in the gold. Group L,
lock and load real quickly. They just their thing is they just don't get to play as much. That's the main thing. They definitely would be a competitive team, regardless of the division. They just don't get to play as much, but they always do come up and support the tournament and participate there. So anyway, let's keep moving.
Okay. Group L, Sin City. Love these guys. They're not like the Sin City combo team. They're not that good, but for gold, they're one of the best for sure. I saw them in San Diego play, and they were beating up on Utah pretty good. And I said, okay, we're going to have an if game. But when I came back, Utah had come back and beat them, so they finished second. But they're really good. Degenerates has been dormant this year. Matter of fact, last couple years, they're trying to regroup, but they're really committed for this one. Direct Impact's another team coming back. They're in Central Cal, NorCal team that's getting back to the mix. Midwest Heat I really like. They had Wax for a minute, and the big controversy was, and many of you don't know about it, but Wax will not be playing with Midwest Heat. He's playing with Metro Detroit's finest. Wax Wiley's a former player of the year. He's a difference maker. Group M, Nitro to Go is your top team there. They did really well last year. Little disappointed that come playoff time, they lost some of their top players, which is the Zingbot talked about. Frontline Enforcers, I know nothing about these guys. I think they're from Florida, but they've been in communication, so they're in. So Bay Area combo, they are kind of a branch off of that free agent team I put together last year with some Oakland players and stuff. I think their biggest hurdle is just like recruiting enough guys from that area to believe in them. United KC, that's Brad's team, obviously. We talk about him. They're always in the mix, usually in the top 7 or so. Group N is Aftermath. I didn't think these guys were going to be much of a factor this year. But then I saw them at the DEA kickoff. They play really well. Then they came to the West Conference and played really well. So they're better than you would think. Omerta, another local team. They're a lot like the Guard Dogs in the fact that probably destined for, obviously the gold division. If they don't get deep, they might end up in silver and they'll do okay there. Toronto, same as the other Northern Lawman team. They've just been dormant, so hopefully they're not rusty. Chicago's interesting. They got the Anthony's been a face of police softball for so long. He's not running the team anymore. I'm hoping he comes to Vegas and runs the team because it'll help him. Because it's nice to have a non-playing manager. I saw Sean try to run the team in San Diego, and he's pitching and trying to run the team, and it's too much for a guy to do so much. Group O, Necessary Force. These guys really impressed me in New York. I watched them play a lot. They're better than I thought they would be based on so I see how they finish in the tournaments, and then I watched them play, and I said, man, these guys are like a mid-majors team. But I don't know how, but for some reason they just don't seem to win the games. Houston Hustle, that's Mandy's team. So she didn't even know there was a Zingbot. I had to tell her the Zingbot called her out, and so she had to learn about that. ALV, that's a former the Central Valley Kings. They're a team that they think they had like 9 guys or something in West Conference, and they started beating a bunch of teams and getting deep in with 9 guys. Honolulu, those guys, they finished second one year in gold. They're borderline mid-majors team. If they win that group, it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know with Chad Augustine on the team. I don't know. Their problem was pitching always. So Group P, I had a team drop. That Yonkers team drops. There's only 3 teams. Northwest Shakedown out of Seattle. Those guys always do super good in the West Conference. And then in Vegas, they've won the silver. Like they're too good for silver, and somehow they end up at silver and they end up run ruling everybody. So let's hope that doesn't happen again this year. I like Dayton Metro, veteran team. Reloaded is another team coming out of NorCal that's like underestimating. People underestimate them. Group Q, you got Danny Torres' team, Lone Star, which is the best team in Texas, but they need to be in gold, and all the other Texas teams need to be in majors for some reason. If you talk to Danny, sorry, Danny. Arizona Blue Heat. I thought these guys were going to be like a beer league team. They're much better than that. I saw them in San Diego, and these guys are a lot of the old Arizona Blaze team. They're good. Mixed Nuts. They had a couple really they haven't lived up to what I thought they should be. I've seen them play really well in San Diego and stuff, and then they have a rough run the last few times. And then the team that everyone's talking about right now, the biggest lineup, they got 25 guys on the roster, Metro Detroit's finest. So basically Detroit PD plus Metro Detroit's finest, and they literally have 25 players, including Wax now. So they're going to be really super good if you take the best guys from Detroit and the best guys from Metro Detroit and combine them. The problem, I think, and the struggle is going to be finding playing time for all these guys. But if those guys are not in the final 3, it would be a disappointment.
So, Jeff, just so you know, I actually asked Rob Nagel of Detroit a question. I asked him, how do you plan on managing your newly expanded roster with all the new faces, the new bodies? Supposedly, he has 25 players on a roster. How is he going to do this and manage his way to a World Series championship? And this is what he had to say.
Merging with Detroit happened very quickly, and it just made sense for our 2 Michigan teams in the Gold Division to merge. Due to injuries and guys on both teams not being able to attend, both teams are running short on players. So it's just something that needed to be done to make one competitive Michigan team in the Gold Division. Managing our team is definitely going to have some difficulties now that we have a 20-plus man roster, and there's some pros and cons as you want to give everybody playing time. But with that many players on the roster, it's just not possible to give everyone equal time. Many of the Detroit guys are familiar faces to me in MDF, and we know how they play. In the past, some of the Detroit guys have played with us on MDF or in local tournaments or leagues, and we know their talent level, and they will contribute in starting roles. There has been talk about playing time and positions as we lead up to Vegas, but we have a good idea where guys are going to play and what roles they will have on the team. There are some new faces to me that we will have to evaluate in the round-robin games, but we'll do so after watching them play. The guys need to know that when the games count, the best players are going to play, and the guys have to understand it's about having fun and winning a championship.
And so that's going to happen on Friday afternoon/evening at 5:00 sharp. Remember this, player party. So Garrett Metal Detectors is sponsoring the player party, all the beer you can drink until we run out. We're going to have a tribute to our fallen brothers, Officer Timmons and Ecke from Miami 5-0. We're going to have, a home run derby. We're going to have an all-star game, which is going to be awesome. We haven't had a true all-star game in many, many years. We're gonna make it 5 innings and kind of cap it like 5 runs per inning and stuff like that. We don't want anybody getting hurt out there, but at the same time, there should be a lot of pride in this game. It might even go 6. We'll see what the time limit lets us go. But it's the best players in the nation. It's David against Goliath. So the best majors and mid-majors players are playing against the best gold players. All you gold guys that you think you're good enough to play in majors, well, let's see what happens when we put you on a field against these big boys. And then, so that'll be the opening ceremonies on Friday night. And then we have our end of year awards ceremony. We'll try to make it quick because a lot of games on Friday night. So some of the gold teams will be playing on Friday night. Remember, some gold teams are playing Friday night. So right away, I guarantee someone's going to say, hey, we're going out to party tonight, and they're going to miss their game, and they're going to go 0-1 because they didn't read the brackets. And
you guys going to do the Hall of Fame ceremony on Friday as well?
Hall of Fame, all that, the usual. So nothing changes other than we got the only thing difference is going to be that All-Star game. And then majors, some very important undefeated games. Not all the way down to the undefeated game, but to get to I think there'll be 4 undefeated teams by the end of Friday night. So there's going to be late games on Friday night. If you're undefeated, you're going late into Friday night. I think maybe even a 10 o'clock start or a 9:30 start. I'll have to start. So Friday night's a late night at the fields. Plan on a late night at the fields. If you're majors, even gold, just plan on being at the fields all day Friday night. That's the way it is. All right. Saturday, we pick it back up again. The majors championship will be Saturday night. Mid-majors championship Saturday night. Gold, it'll be a little bit earlier. I think we're going late into Sunday afternoon for the championships with silver. So
somebody asked what are the times that it typically ends on Saturday? No rain, no anything included, like for the majors, mid-majors and all. Is it usually late?
Yeah, like midnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Saturday's going to midnight for sure, because we got games starting at 10 o'clock, and that's if they don't get backed up.
Got you. Cool.
Yeah, so it's going to midnight. Yeah.
All right. So are we ready to? Do you think the Swami might be prepared?
Let me see. I see him over there.
Hey,
right
now. Go check on him, dude. Go check on him real quick. Let's go see. Hey, Joe. Well, I'll tell you what. That was a good rundown. And in the end, Jeff's on top of it, man. I mean, he knows better than anybody else what's going on in the circuit, and he's got the Swami in his corner. That is usually his advisor, and it's pretty damn accurate. So I'm excited to be able to have the Swami appear. Hopefully, I don't know. I'm hoping he's ready. So we'll see how it goes. Joe, any comments real quick?
No, I like Jeff's breakdown as always, and I'm glad he joined us and was able to do this and get everyone prepared for this huge event that's getting ready to come up here.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's go back and see if the Swami might be a bit. Hey, let's see. Is it right here? Let's see. There we go. Let's see. All right, man. The Swami is back with us. I'm excited. Swami, welcome. And thank you for making an appearance. I'm sure you got a lot of things going on. Probably a lot of carnivals that you attend. There's a lot of fairs that you show up to, and I know that we're cutting into your coins, that you make typically at these events. But I'm happy that you're here, Swami. So tell me, what are you going to do for us tonight, Swami? What are you going to predict?
So here's the deal. We're gonna go right through gold, mid-majors, and majors. We don't do silver because no one wants to predict a team that goes, 0-2 in the playoffs and then they get put in the silver. Whoever makes it, that's great. If you're there, win it, the whole bit. But no one wants to end up in the silver necessarily. So we're going to go gold, mid-majors, and majors. And you got to remember something about the Swami. He's right a lot of times. So, if the Swami predicts a team to do this, you got a good shot of doing it. This Swami ball is magical. And for 17 years, since 2005, this thing has been like more accurate than a Rolex watch. So the Swami is ready to talk about the gold division, if you are.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. The Swami predicts that in fourth. So if you consider that if you make the top three, that's the elite three, right? They're the ones that get some prizes and they get to pick all tourneys and stuff like that. But there's always that fourth place team that's just the odd man out. They had a great tournament, but not great enough to be mentioned. So this year, the Swami is going to mention the fourth place team. So the fourth place team in the gold division, according to the crystal ball, is the one team from Texas that's going to go farther than any other team in their division, Lone Star. I believe the Swami believes Lone Star might have finished fourth last year, maybe third, but fourth place finish for Lone Star once again. They will be the pride of Texas. No Texas team will finish in any division higher than fourth. So Lone Star, Danny Torres is right. He's the best team in Texas, but it's in the gold division. So now moving on. Third place. Third place, now we're talking about the team that gets some awards and gets the recognition, and they're super good, and the Swami sees that being Sin City Combo. Sin City Combo played outstanding softball in San Diego. Could they win it? Yeah, but the Swami ball says they're not going to have quite enough juice to get to number one. Keep in mind, there's 36 teams in gold, so to finish third is impressive. Second place, according to the Swami, is going to be the team with the largest roster in the history of police softball, Metro Detroit's finest. Metro Detroit, they've assembled a combination all-star team. There's going to be a price to pay if they don't win it because, there's going to be some guys that only get a couple of bats, but at the same time, they're going to have a great run. And it's going to be just a little short. However, Swami's got a caveat for the champions. The Swami's ball does not include weather predictions, so it's only softball predictions. There's a big storm in Florida right now that's going to hit right in the heart of this team. And this team's this is their year to win it if they get there. Center Mass out of Tampa. These guys are a Tampa-based team. They're super good. They could probably be in mid-majors and be very competitive if they get there. So Swami's ball shows them showing up and winning, but then again, it does not communicate with the weather gods. So if something happens, then just bump everybody up one with Lone Star, Sin City, and Metro Detroit being 3, 2, 1 in that order.
All right.
Swami's ball's ready to move on for mid-majors.
Well, before the Swami ball moves on, let me just say that old Texas prediction there about the only team and the highest ranking team. Tell you what, Swami, you may have been working a little bit too hard on your side jobs. So we'll see how that goes as far as Texas.
Hey, so the Swami, all he does is read the ball. Like I can't control what it says, right? So
I got you. All right, let's go to the majors.
Okay, mid-majors.
Mid-majors.
The one team. So now mid-majors is tough because that means they've got to lose in the round robin to end up in mid-majors, right? So we already know it's not going to be any of the top 8 teams, right? So what is the team that's not going to do as well in the round robin, but it's going to do really well in the playoffs? So you got to start looking at what the Swami ball considers, like strength of schedule in the round robin, and then how good the team is. So the team on the outside looking in, that just gets. If they had like it's just one, like they don't have bronze. What's outside of bronze? If they had another medal outside of bronze, it'd be the 4th place team, L&I Express. We like this Louisville, Indiana team. Probably going to finish 4th in mid-majors, which is a great showing, especially for a first year. But they just don't have enough juice because the team that eliminates them, the 3rd place team, is a team we spoke of earlier, the Maryland Outlaws. Love their defense. Saw them in New York. The Swami ball watched them, thinks they're super good, but 3rd place is as far as they're going to get in mid-majors, with the 2nd place team being the biggest sleeper of the tournament, California Classic Sports. Swami ball says these guys are so good that they don't even know how good they are. They just need a little confidence. They have 2 pitchers that are outstanding. They play defense. They hit home runs. They hit base hits. They're really good if they could just get some swagger. But the team that's going to win it this year is the Miami Metro Dogs, mid-majors champions. These guys ended up in majors last year, and it bit them in the ass because they're a team that thought they didn't have to play in the playoffs, and they came running out to the field late, and it just sent them in a tailspin. If they end up in mid-majors, which Swami Ball says they're going to because they're in a really tough bracket, they're going to win it. Once again, Swami doesn't take weather into prediction, but it doesn't look like the Storm's going to hit Miami.
Yeah.
Finally, we're going to move into majors.
Yeah.
Okay. Comments on mid-majors, anybody? Joe, do I got it? Swami got it?
I think you got it. I think Maryland could be a top. I think they could finish top 2. I like the gold. That could flip-flop. Detroit could beat Center Mass. I like both. I like your top 2 in both of those. Okay. But Maryland, I think, could sneak into the top 2 in mid-major.
Okay. Majors. Now, this one pains the Swami Ball because one of his favorite teams in all of police softball is going to finish outside the medals.
Oh, wow.
Connection. 2 times they've been in the finals. Yeah, connection.
Wow,
so
Swami
knows
what he's
fourth.
doing.
Just one of the things that the Swami Ball liked about them was their cohesiveness and how much they were playing, and it's just enough to where it's gonna, despite their everything they have good going for them, it's enough to push them just outside looking in, because the 3rd place team is going to be a team that has been playing a lot, and they got their ace back, and they're simply probably, arguably, the best East Coast team to date to this year, Great Lakes Lawman. Got them in 3rd. All right, so no repeat for these guys. Now, every division's got a shocker. And California Classics was the mid-major shocker. The majors division shocker is going to go undefeated and get double dipped and get their it's going to burn them, but they're going to prove how good they really are. The Missouri Lawmen.
Hey.
2nd place with a heartbreaking double dip at the hands of basically a team of professional softball players. The Swami Ball's not stupid. These guys get paid to fly all over the nation and play softball. The LAPD Blues going to 3-peat. End of story. These guys are just too good. I mean, literally, they get paid to fly all over the country. They got guys flying in from, I guess there's a majors tournament in Florida. They got 4 guys flying back on Thursday. They got reinforcements coming from who knows where. They're going to have 20 of the best players in the nation on their team. They're just going to be tough to beat. Sorry, Joe.
Man, Swami. Man. So the top team in Texas and then the Missouri Lawmen not finishing as champions. Ooh, Swami, you really might want to take some more time
Missouri's almost
off,
a gold
man.
division, so now they're getting 2nd in majors. That's pretty good. We'll see.